What was your game score? 31-14 finished as the final as Miami dominated the second half in taking out UAB. Hard Rock opener, game opener, Power 5 opener, ACC opener for the Canes over UAB. Again, 31-14. Talking Miami football as we do each and every week with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Hopefully you're subscribed right here at MarkRogersTV Miami channel. Cam, how you doing today?
I'm good, hanging out. Still got my, a black UM shirt. It's weird, so like there it goes. So yeah, it's on the other sides of the microphone there. But I feel good. Having a good weekend. Took taking all these weekends off. To burn up all that vacation time that I need to burn up by the end of this month. I'm just hanging out and relaxing and watch whatever football there is to watch because my team played on Thursday and won. So. Start off the weekend well.
Yeah, as soon as we get done here, I'm turning on football. Now, the schedule's not what it would be, and it's not that impressive, but hey, I think everybody can grasp a little bit of football. We do have North Carolina playing at noon if you get the ACC network. Otherwise, again, kind of dance around the Big 12 and the ACC and slim pickings for a normal college football Saturday. We would all be complaining if we saw this schedule last year, but we'll take what we can get.
Right.
And on Thursday night, there's a bit of a debate over the people that I've talked to and the viewers that have commented back to the channel in regards to the satisfaction of play on the field by the Canes on Thursday night. My quick take is that not very impressive from an offensive standpoint for the first quarter and a half or so. I couldn't watch it with a critical eye. I had it on while I needed to do other things work related. So I had the game on, was watching the drives and so forth, but couldn't watch it with an analytical eye. But the defense I thought was outstanding for the most part. And the offense came around and certainly took control in the third quarter. And it was nice to see an offensive line go out there and push people around and create running space for Cam Harris in particular.
Yeah, it was an uneven performance. I think that the defense obviously played very well. They only gave up one drive of the field, which was 75 yards. Other than that, UAB didn't go more than 34 yards on any drive, including their second touchdown drive. And they had other drives of actually, I still have the stats up because I like to do that. If I go over here and I go to drives. Yeah, I mean, they had drives of, they had a 17-yard touchdown drive. And, other drives of 33, 34, and 30. And then obviously, 16, 8, 6, -2, -1, 12, and 2 for the drives. So, I mean, you had one drive with 75 yards. You had another touchdown drive, which was 2 plays and 17 yards after the muff punt. And then they're doing a first down and, punting on these other drives of 30 yards or maybe 2 first downs or something. But, I mean, not really sustaining any kind of offensive rhythm. So, the defense did well with that. This outside zone run game that they were doing with UAB, that was a thing where, you got to slant, though. You got to cut them off. So if there's an offensive lineman who's trying to reach to a zone, and you saw Nessa Silveras particularly was really good at this. As soon as he kind of slants, you just get upfield. You cut that angle off. So it's not, because that's what the zone is supposed to do. It's supposed to stretch it out and give the running back room to keep it play side or find the cutback. But if you cross the face of the offensive lineman and you're in the backfield already, that's a havoc play. Those are the things that this defense is built on. And you see guys get up the field and do those things, which is really good. You had multiple safeties making plays, Gervin Hall, Amari Carter, and Bubba Bolden. Again, those are 3 future NFL players, so that's really good. Defensive ends looked the part, whether it's Jafari Harvey getting up the field, Quincy Roche with the only sack that we had last night, but the first sack of his Miami career, last year's AAC Temple Defensive Player of the Year at Temple. Jalen Phillips looked the part of the former #1 overall recruit in America. He's making plays and things like that. He flashed elite talent. He didn't impact the scoreboard or the stat sheet so much because Miami only had 6 tackles for loss and 1 sack. So those numbers are going to pick up hopefully in other games. But, it was, it's been a couple of years since he'd played in a competitive game. So, there was a little rust, but you also saw him flash like, whoa, okay, this is a guy who can make these plays. Bradley Jennings was really strong at linebacker. for his first start replacing Shaq Quarterman in the middle there. So defense, yeah, there was a strong performance. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty strong. And I'll take that kind of performance any day of the week. One sustained drive and then a turnover drive where on 2 plays they scored. Okay, fine. Other than that, the running game was very strong. You had 4 guys go over 50 yards, both freshman running backs, Jalen Knighton and Donald Chaney Jr. De'Aaron King had 83 yards. Cameron Harris had
134.
4 yards. There we go. I was just looking for the last digit there. 134 and 2 tutties. 4 touchdowns on the ground. 3 touchdowns on the ground because we also had 1 passing, which is good. The passing game, however, leaves much to be desired. And that's from the pass protection of the offensive line and then just the connection between quarterback and receivers. We lined up in 4 wide and went 4 verticals in the first play of the game, which was kind of crazy to me because wow, all right, didn't expect that. But, there were some vertical throws and we just, weren't on the same page. There were a couple miscommunications where, De'Aaron King threw a fade, but the receiver ran a stop route or something like that. So you want to see more dynamism in the passing game. Eventually, we decided, okay, we're going to throw to Brevin Jordan. Good idea to throw the ball to the best tight end in America. And he had 3 catches for 51 and a touchdown, which is great. And good production we can see. But, 60% completions. So, there were some balls that were caught, passing and catching, but it wasn't – the passing game was not as dynamic as the running game, obviously. And the running game had 337 yards, which is the most since we've had since 2014 against Virginia Tech, against a Power 5 or a FBS level team, not a FAMU or Bethune-Cookman or something like that. So there's much to like in the run game. De'Aaron King with his scrambling and things, he got the offensive line out of some bad situations, to be perfectly honest. He got out of a couple sacks and ended up with the aggregate of 50 yards scrambling on plays where Miami should have lost 20, 25 yards maybe. So his singular talent, again, is able to make things happen. And everybody said it. There's the play that we call and the play that, he can make happen. And, our guy over at State of the U, Roman, he broke down the first half and he broke down that touchdown run that De'Aaron King had. And they were trying to work something to the short side of the field. They were trying to do a fake tunnel screen to an inside slot fade. So he fakes like he's going to block and then he releases. But if the defenders come up to the tunnel, then, the guy behind him will be open. They didn't bite on that because of what they were doing in coverage. So you see a quick pump fake and it's like, okay, I got to go now because what we tried to dial up, they had the perfect coverage for that. Good on them. But now I got to do something different. I got to do something dynamic. I got to move because we called a specific shot play. It's going to go to, this is that guy play. You know what I mean? And then that guy was covered. So I'm just going to run and I'm going to dive and I'm going to score from 12 yards out. So you've seen, those kind of things. So, positives and negatives, I broke it all down or, from my viewpoint, at least in the good, the bad, the ugly, which we do every single week on State of the U and everything. But a solid win against a solid team. And people are coming to me for the word solid and in reference to UAB. And I don't get that one because they're a solid team. They're a 9-10 win, a group of 5 team, one of the better mid-major teams in America. Everybody, was saying before the season, they have 18 returning starters. They got a few guys who are probably going to be NFL caliber players on a roster somewhere down the line. I'm not saying that they're the world beaters. I'm not saying that we went up there and beat last year's LSU or Clemson or, championship Alabama, or we would have beaten 2001 Miami. I didn't say any of those things. I said that it's a solid win against a solid team. And, it gets some live game reps for a bunch of guys and onward, upward, and forward we go. So, that's where we are.
I use the same terminology in trying to be fair about it and trying to be critical, but also trying to understand that, again, I think that fan bases of certain teams, certain schools have such a level, whether that's based on reality or based on fiction or based on the past or based on the present, regardless, that they expect every outing to be against that type of an opponent to go out there and roll 45-0. Don't take into account and acknowledge the talent on the other side. They're all scholarship athletes. And as you mentioned, the NFL is certainly more than sprinkled with group of 5 athletes that came from the places like UAB. And even then, the players that don't get to that level are certainly capable across the board. You saw a clear distinction in talent, ability, explosiveness across the board. You saw a clear distinction that took hold in the second half. Sometimes you'll see a game like that of what we would consider to be top 15 talent in the nation against that level talent, and they'll come out and they'll stick 2 or 3 touchdowns on the board right away and kind of cruise home to a 31-14. And then sometimes you'll see them impose their will a little bit later after they figure things out. And that's what we saw here. Mm-hmm. And not alarming. It's not a devastating performance. It's a solid performance. I was using the same terminology against the same type of an opponent. Yes. Would we see other? Yes. You just use your brain and just place it against what we will see week to week to week throughout the college football season, with less of a sample size, of course, with 2 major conferences down, plus one of the better group of 5s in the Mountain West. But you look at any college football season and you will see a Miami type team take on a quality group of 5 team, and you will see a smattering of results. You will see them taken to the wire at times. Most of the time you will see this performance, I would say 3/4 of the time, and then 10 or 15% of the time you will see them just annihilate them.
And look, man, like they got half of their points because we muffed a punt inside the 20, and okay, that made it 17-14. We come out, we lean on them in the run game. The next 2 drives, we score points. Boom. Had an RPO play where the cornerback came up and left his receiver wide open. It was a la that Nick Marshall play at Auburn when he's running to the left, and then I forget, it was like Seth Williams or somebody on that sideline was just butt naked wide open. It was that play, but instead of it being a run and catch, or like a catch and run, Jeremiah Payton was in the end zone, and De'Aaron King, eyes got big, rushed that throw, missed that guy. You know what I mean? You drop a couple interceptions, would have seen whatever the new addition of the turnover chain is there and things. So it was we first of all covered the spread, and people are talking about Miami's not going to cover the spread of, which was, 13.5, 14 points. So 2 touchdowns. We beat a game team by 3 scores, and if you run down, UAB is probably a top 35, 40 team if everybody plays. That's not bad beating them by 3 scores.
You think they're that high? I wouldn't put them in the top 35 or 40.
I mean, well, from what we saw last year from them, yeah, I would. Okay, and if you want to say in the 50s, if you want to say in the top half, fine, cool. If you're saying, okay, I'm being
that's about where I think they are.
Okay, I'm fine with that. But my point is, a team that is of that caliber, which is not the dregs of the earth, which is basically what I'm saying. They're not the bottom feeders of life. You miss a wide open touchdown throw. You drop a couple interceptions. You gift them half of their points. You know what I mean? And, eventually it was about the 40-minute mark of the game. Shout out to my guy, Mike Felder from in the bleachers from Watch Stadium is the network he works for now. But he was tweeting, live tweeting the game. And he said that it took to about the 40-minute mark of game action. And then, that's really when Miami's conditioning took over, the humidity and everything, running the tempo of plays that we ran. We ran more plays yesterday or on Thursday than we ran at any game last year. Things like that. It finally took a toll, but I've given you 3 or 4 things as to why this score could have been different in like a more crooked numbers. And it didn't happen. And obviously we want those things to happen, but the margins between, a 3-score win and a 5-score win are pretty thin there. You hit one throw, you don't drop that punt, you're already at 38-7. You know what I mean? With those 2 plays changing, let alone anything else. So, I mean, yeah, again, it's a good win. It's a solid performance. But there's still room for growth because hopefully as things go on, instead of letting those points go by the wayside, right, we then capitalize on those plays. We make those plays. And as the offense opens up more, because I was a little frustrated with seeing, the same 6 plays, but you only needed the 6 plays and you still won by, the margin that we won by, then, hopefully things will get more dynamic and the, crooked numbers will come.
Anytime there's a turnover, I always evaluate whether it was a forced error or an unforced error. It's almost like a tennis situation in which there are turnovers in football, and sometimes you'll hear fans say, well, if we wouldn't have turned over the ball 5 times today. Well, you turned the ball over not because you were just tossing it in the other team's hands or dropping the ball as you were running down the field. That team had a great defense, and they were making plays. They were coming off the edge, strip sacking your quarterback. They were deflecting balls at the line. Corners were breaking on the ball, reading the ball, making picks. So they made the plays. They made plays to create turnovers, as opposed to Miami muffs a punt. They give it to UAB at the 17-yard line. I evaluate that as UAB has nothing to be ashamed of. They take the gift. Everybody takes gifts in football or any sport. But in terms of evaluating play, yes, they didn't have to drive 75 yards for a touchdown. They were given a gift at the 17. Now, could Miami have gone out there, their defense, and stopped them to a field goal or turn the ball over? Sure. But they only gave up a 17-yard drive, and the rest of the game, other than the 75-yard drive, was airtight on defense.
Exactly.
And it's football. You're not going to shut teams out and hold them to 50 yards of total offense.
I mean, people wanted to be playing NCAA on freshman difficulty when you see a team from a non-Power 5 conference. You know what I mean? You want it to be, 91-0, and they have negative 500 yards of offense and things like that. And I mean, it would be great, but that just isn't it. And, again, everybody said, again, this is a team that is solid. They have good coaching, and, there's ways to do things. And obviously early on we saw, they're like, look, we're going to run these outside zone stretch plays. We're going to do all of this, just misdirection. We're going to, I don't know that they had a straight drop back pass, or they had only a couple. They're doing, bootleg throwbacks on 3rd and 7. You know what I mean? Like there's ways to kind of game that. You know what I mean? It's that, it's a baseball pitcher who doesn't have 99 on the gun. But I got this curveball, I got this changeup, I got this sinker, I got this little kind of cut slider thing. I'm just gonna junk you. I'm gonna just do things because I can't sit there and just gas you. I can't do it. So I got to figure out some other kind of way to mess with your timing and just kind of use the situation and physicality that I have to my advantage. And that's what UAB did, and it took a while. Somebody asked me in the first quarter what the time of possession was. And at that time, it was like 9.5 minutes for UAB and like 3 minutes for Miami, because they did, they're running at a slow tempo. They had a couple 7-play drives. So you get 1 or 2 first downs before you punt. Things like that. They're going to run that clock down. They're going to do these misdirections and things like that. And it just took a while, to get into the flow. And this is, again, a Miami program that had 3 or 4 fall or spring practices, so you didn't get a full install there. It's been a while since you won a game. It was 307 days between wins. The last time that Miami won was the record-setting Louisville game last November, so it took a while to get going. To the couple of questions that I saw from J Love T. Number one, people wanting instant gratification and instant development of people. It's just instant gratification. It's just the thing that you want. Like shout out to Veruca Salt. I want it now. I want the whole world. Boom. That's it. That's a Willy Wonka reference if you didn't get that. But it's just, development is consistency over time. And that's just a thing that I've always believed in athletics and academics. I was a teacher for a long time, and I hated block scheduling for every other day because I think the consistency over time needs to see the kids every day. Needs to be practiced every day, whether it's in my classroom in math and science and history or on the football field. You wouldn't have a football practice that was 4 hours Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then play on Saturday. No, you have 2 or 3 hours a day because consistency over time. That's how you develop. That's been proven over the course of human history. But it's tough because if you are only looking at the results, then you're going to miss the path of development. So the process, and this is where I hated Al Golden for bastardizing this word. The process is this development of, every day we're working on this technique, and then we're going to layer that on top of the next one. And it takes an investment of time that people are not willing to do. Plus, the fact, coming off of last year, people just want things to be diametrically different. Just 180%, 180 degrees. What we saw and what we get, we don't want those to be at all related. We want those to be different in a good way. And I get it. It just takes a little time. But that's human nature, to want what you want. On top of that, am I impressed with the offensive line after running for 337 yards? I'm impressed to a point, but there's still miles to go. Like I said, in terms of pass blocking, it wasn't there. It wasn't there at all. And I know that, UAB has a 6'7", 260 defensive end who's probably going to be on somebody's NFL roster. That's cool. But you had guys running free through the offensive line, more than just like this one singular talent out there. You know what I mean? So, and honestly, if you look at what the run game was, a lot of that came on broken plays because D'Eriq King had to scramble out of there. Plus, the fact, he had a completion to Cam Harris on a scramble drill because guy came through clean on a pass play. That was a dump off to Cam Harris right before the half where he ran and then he got out of on the sideline. There was a throwaway on that. There was another short completion on a scrambling kind of thing. That awesome throw up to the left sideline scrambling to D. Wiggins. That was on a broken play where all of a sudden I'm dropping back to look and read to the right. And all of a sudden there's a guy in my face. So now I got to run, twist, turn, and I'm running to my left. And then I hit that. There are many plays we can look at and say, the performance wasn't where it needs to be. So am I cautiously optimistic about the state of the offensive line, especially because the actual called run game went well? Yes. But I still have much pause because we need to see better production, especially in terms of pass production from them.
I remember one play that they shot and showed the replay from the end zone, where you can see it wasn't a sky cam shot, but it was behind the center where the result was an incompletion. But D'Eriq King slid in the pocket, waited, and he was looking for Brevin Jordan. He threw. It wasn't a great ball, but it was a good throw, and I appreciated the anticipation and seeing and manipulating safety and or linebacker to get what he wanted with Jordan, to get just enough a window where he had to throw a laser, but it had to have some touch on it to get it over and into the window. It wasn't the prettiest ball in the world, but he fired it, and it wasn't pinpoint accurate, but it was within chest range accurate, and Brevin Jordan just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, that was first half.
It was like it was first half. It
was a third down.
3rd and 14 that would have converted the first down.
Well, actually,
it was like really long to go for the first down.
It was 3rd and 15 with 3:17 left in the second quarter. I just looked it up. Yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Because I thought, again, when I mentioned off the top, my very general impression of the offensive line was that they pushed people around pretty well in the run game.
Right.
But yeah, D'Eriq King rarely was able to be real comfortable in a pocket.
And maybe, and this is something that, Roman talked about, our other guy, Justin DeTavio, doing X's and O's, talked about. Maybe we need to move the launch point. Maybe we need to roll them out. Maybe we need to be the ones doing bootlegs and waggles. We saw it work for UAB to get away from the rush because, Miami was getting up the field. When it came to pass game, there was, or pass rushing, Miami's defense was there, but the quarterback wasn't 7 yards behind the center standing there like a statue. He's rolling to his left. He's rolling to his right. He's moving around. They're changing that launch point and things. And, maybe that's something that Miami should look at to add in. And to be honest, maybe that is a thing that's in the playbook. But again, we, at the consternation of many, including myself, we were super duper vanilla, on Thursday. I mean, and that is really just a fact. And I hope that, when we see some more dynamic offense, we can, harken back to this and say, okay, remember when we're like, okay, a little frustrated because we didn't see anything and maybe, the future of the season will bear that out to be true. But I find it hard to believe that, what we saw, especially in the pass game, is the pass offense, like the entirety of the pass game offense for Miami.
Ronan Jones, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. We always appreciate you diving in the live chat and showing your support. Everybody, I posted a video over on the main channel this morning. Yes, it's very cryptic. I can only say so much. So thank you for your flexibility, and just hang with us here, and we will unveil things as we can. And certainly subscribe here and subscribe to the main channel. And please just be patient with us. You're not going to see the content that you typically see, but we're working through some challenges right now. So I appreciate all the support and well wishes. All right. You covered a ton of the questions and comments in regards to playbook, offensive line play that are in the chat. There's a particular Garen Justice evaluation question by J Love T.
Yeah, I just talked about that one.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No. The one that's on the screen is why is Miami playing a walk-on wide receiver with a stud freshman. Marshall Few was first team All-State in high school. He was a preferred walk-on for a couple of years, and he is on scholarship, actually. So Miami was not playing a walk-on player. Same thing with Ryan Rigoni on defense. Number 34. He's also a scholarship player now. So if you're just looking on, okay, that. And now you can debate and say, okay, well, at one time they were preferred walk-ons and things like that. Okay, that's a conversation that you can have. But the point of fact is the players who played were scholarship players. Now, if you want to debate and say, okay, for whatever athletic reasons, potential, we would prefer to see, or you would prefer to see a different player play in those slots. I mean, I think that that's fair evaluation. I've talked candidly about saying, guys who are not meeting the standard of performance, I would like to see somebody else in that slot. And I've used plenty of names over the course of time, just because, look, we know who the guys are. Like, they have, their numbers, they wear different numbers. They have names on the back of their jerseys. So, I mean, if you can say, okay, well, things, or you want to do that, that's a thing that you can do. But I don't think that playing Marshall Few, because you mentioned a walk-on wide receiver, and so that's what you're talking about. I don't think playing Marshall Few had a negative impact on the offense based on his performance. So, yeah, maybe there are. And look, we threw a pass to Michael Redding. It was towards the end zone, I want to say. Michael Redding III, who's a true freshman wide receiver. I know that people are thinking, okay, well, Xavier Restrepo did all these numbers in these scrimmages at slot receiver. So why is he third on slot behind Marshall Few and Mike Harley? I mean, Mike Harley started, so duh. But I mean, the coaches have their reasons. And again, maybe you agree with them, maybe you don't. Maybe it is the seniority reason. Maybe it is the, good citizenship. Maybe it's the, hard work in the, off-season program or things like that. Whatever it is, they have a reason, whether we agree or we disagree. I personally would have liked to have seen, some of these freshmen more. That I think that Keyshawn Smith should be playing. So that, I mean, I want to see him out there. Xavier Restrepo has continually done well in scrimmage situations. So I would have liked to have seen him as well. But I think that comes with opening up the offense, because I think that some of the things that they do are not, B-flat basic standard. The tent poles, if you will, of the offense. Now, we can talk about if they're doing these things and they're doing them well. Why are they not tent poles of the offense? Hey, not my job. But again, I don't think that anybody who played really had a negative impact. And that's even Mark Pope, who had a couple of catches and he fumbled that punt. You know what I mean? So, we're all working through things. The team is working through things. The rotation of guys on and off the field, or, onto the field, I should say, to play. And hopefully, that will develop or continue through time. And we'll see. But the coaches will say that they played the guys who they believe could help the team win and who earned it. And absent any other information, we just have to take them at their word, I guess.
So I'm going to hit you with two topics. I'm going to step off for just a minute and let you roll with these two. So
All right.
Michael Mitchell is not real pleased with DJ Ivy's performance. Nothing comes to mind. And again, I was a casual observer of a football game with my
wait. I'm sorry. It was cutting out because of my internet throttling. He's not pleased with who?
Oh, it could have been me. DJ Ivy, not pleased. Michael Mitchell, not pleased with DJ Ivy's play. Wasn't specific. Okay. What do you have there? Okay. And then to be realistic, you know, we all want a perfect performance and we're all looking for that. But Louisville, Florida State, Clemson, the next three, I'm going to kind of change 904 Hurricanes comment into a question in regards to realistic improvement, main target, priority list improvement.
Okay. DJ Ivy is a guy who has struggled, to be honest. He looks the part of a big-time cornerback, but does not always play that way. They had the first touchdown pass thrown directly at him. They had another couple completions to the guy that he was guarding or supposed to be guarding. And yeah, you know, it's a troubling trend. You know, and he's bounced back and he made, you know, a couple of tackles and some plays, but you know, it just isn't. The performance from DJ Ivy has not been where it needs to be. And, you know, again, he's a junior this year. If there isn't any other time, or, you know, if you're waiting for the moment to step into greatness, like, this is it, man. You know, you're the starting corner on the other side. And look, you know, I honestly didn't think Al Blades Jr. was going to be as good in college as he is. But we also are asking him to do different things that they asked him to do at St. Thomas Aquinas, which, you know, when they put him up against speed receivers, that's just not his game. But Al Blades has come to Miami. He's developed very well. He's unquestionably the number one cornerback on this team, and well deserved. But DJ Ivy, again, who looks the part, 6'1", long arms, will be physical. Like, if you had the picture, like we were talking about last week, of him in the weight room, like, he has these pipes, man. I mean, just like very physically developed. He cuts an imposing figure at cornerback, but I mean, has not had that kind of performance, and we really need that from him consistently. So hopefully that happens. But I would agree, and I even wrote it, that, you know, it was not a strong game for DJ Ivy, especially, you know, being the culprit who gave up the first touchdown on UAB's first drive there, or on the short drive. Whichever the first one was. Oh yeah, after the fumbled punt. But yeah, he just again looks the part and needs to start playing the part. In terms of realistic development, so yeah, the next three games are scheduled for Louisville Saturday, and then the week after that, Florida State, and then a bye week, and then Clemson the week after that. Obviously, I think it's just the things that I've been saying. So if we're going to start, you know, continue the conversation from where I just was on defense, the defensive backfield, or the back seven, kind of a little sketchy. So, you know, really want them to lock down. So the safeties obviously need to play like the elite players that they are. Al Blades needs to continue his strong play. DJ Ivy, Christian Williams, Corey Couch, and Isaiah Dunson, the other corners, they really need to step up, just because you can't have, you know, it can't be Deion Sanders on one side and Charles Tosa Dimry on the other side, where he's getting burned all the time like he was in the 90s with the Falcons. You know what I mean? It can't just be like, I mean, sure, the one guy's locked down, but then we'll just go to the other side and eat. You can't just have that. So the cornerbacks specifically really need to step up. Linebacking, I think, was decent, but it can still improve there. And I do want to see, you know, what Avery Huff and Sam Brooks can do out there as well. I think their added athleticism is going to be a weapon for this defense. Keontre Smith and Gilbert Frierson at striker, they need to play well and just continue dominance and progression from the defensive line. That's a realistic thing. In terms of offense, I need to see the running game be consistent. So I need that 4.5, 5 yards a carry. Get the tough yards and then hit the big plays when they're there. And just, I need to see what's that game? Mother May I from when you were kids? Mother May I take 2 baby steps or 3 big steps? I need to see like 5 big steps from this passing game. Like, I mean, lots and lots and lots. So, a small step is still a step, but, Louisville, like, we beat them last year because Jaron Williams threw the most touchdowns that any quarterback in the history of University of Miami football has ever thrown in a single game. Like, we're going to need crooked numbers. And it cannot, they're not going to allow it to be 337 yards rushing on 6.5 yards a carry for 52 carries. I don't foresee that happening at Louisville. So we're going to have to throw the ball. We're going to have to throw the ball, and we're going to have to throw it well. So that really needs to be the thing that is the area for focus and development. And hopefully, if we add a little bit more of an exotic element to the offense where it's not just the same, tentpole plays or your staples or whatever you want to call them, because your staples are your staples because you're always going to run them. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to run certain plays, but you had to augment them with other things. Like, you're going to have that spaghetti in the fridge. Why? Because spaghetti is easy and you have it and it's always there. And if I forget what we're going to have for dinner, look, man, I'm going to boil some pasta and put, brown some meat, put some sauce with it. It's there. It's good. Boom. But you're also going to have the night where you go out, get dressed up. You're going to go to, South Beach, Joe Stone Crab. Maybe, if you're on vacation, you're going to have these things that add that different element to what is going on. And that's what we're going to need to see from the offense in general, but specifically in terms of the passing game. And offensive line, that pass protection has to be better. And that is a thing that is being overlooked because of the number of rushing yards that Miami had on Thursday night. And again, when you have 337 yards and at least 50 of those were on scrambles, probably more, right? And then of the 140-something passing yards, probably 25 to 30 of those were on scrambles for broken plays, on broken protection. That's a lot. You know what I mean? If you have almost 500 yards of offense and more than 100 of them come just because De'Aaron King was De'Aaron King, making De'Aaron King things happen on the field, look, man, the pass protection has to be better. It just does. And that's going to, because if the pass protection is better, then the passing game is going to be better. You have time to run your routes. You have time to let things develop. You have all these kind of added ancillary benefits. And people are overlooking that because the running game put up this large crooked number, which is great. And I want to see things like that. But the pass protection has to be better.
And when you adjust some of these stats and some of these successes to the quality of opponent, then it only makes sense, depending on matchups, it's all over the place in terms of that De'Aaron King is going to make those kind of plays against any defense in the country, but not as many times to the degree that he's going to make it against UAB. There's going to be less of them, and they're going to be less yardage gained, typically.
I mean, look, he was still doing, dancing around things against Oklahoma when they were clearly overmatching Houston, in the past. He's done some things. So, you might have, even if you talk about a 25% depression on yards. So if I said, 100 something, you're talking about in the 70 range, based upon those plays. Yeah, that's sizable. But yeah, De'Aaron King's still going to do De'Aaron King things, but we need to help him with the pass protection, consistency in the running game. Continued consistency in the running game, obviously. But yeah, that on offense is the thing because the offensive line is the key.
LeBrent, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Hey, Mark, tell Ryan Day to give us back our natty, and maybe we will think about letting Ohio State play.
He wasn't even there.
Yeah, he's not a real old guy. That was 18 years ago. Don't know what Ryan Day was doing at that time, but certainly he's the face of the program now. And truth be known, if I was a Miami fan, I would make the same gripe that Miami fans make about that game. I would. As an Ohio State fan, I see it from a different perspective. I think there are arguments on both sides. And I don't think it was blatantly a bad call, but I would say it was a bad call if I was a Miami fan. If I was neutral on the situation, I think I would. I think it was holding myself. All right.
Okay.
Regardless, LeBrent, thank you so much for the super chat contribution there. And then we've got Kenson. I tried to get
Kenson, yo, is one of my former students from Miramar.
right.
What's good, kid?
Kenson, thank you so much for showing up and showing some appreciation here.
Wait, is that Dr. Monesteem now? I have so many kids who have doctorates and things. He might be one of them. But yeah, no, he's doing big things. I remember, Kenson. Oh, yeah.
Very cool. What do we have here? Yeah, we got a comment from Kenson, the man, the myth, the legend, Underwood. What up, dog? First time getting to watch the show live now that have some free time. He knows his stuff. He's one of the reason why I became a huge fan. Go Canes. I'm sure you've converted some people.
Okay. I mean, like, look, I had a little, because my office at Miramar had like a window in the door. Actually, I had a bunch of doors, but in the one that like led to the classroom, and there was like, I had a little sticker on there, one of the see-through ones. So just, you saw that and everything. And I mean, even those times when, if we'd gone through our content, or it was just a day where it kind of felt off for whatever reason, and I would try to just talk to them, the students, about, life after high school, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to college? Like, we'll talk about, financial aid and scheduling and things like that. And, obviously I would say, look, I worked in the tutoring office at Miami. Like, I remember the scheduling and like how we did it and how we classified it there. And, we would talk about that. And I would look up other schools as well. Cause I know people are like, oh, you're trying to. No, I would sit there and I would look up the University of Florida. I would look up Florida State, and I would project it up there, and we would talk about all these different kinds of things. But, if I'm talking firsthand about, when I was in college and what I did and where I was, like, obviously the University of Miami would come up. So, I'm sure that there were a couple that were, around that. Plus the fact I was always around sports. I was announcing, and I was always, that's when I was starting blogging and everything. So, just always an avid sports fan with it. But I had more students who went other places than who went to Miami. P.S. by the way, because I know all you. Oh well, yeah. So miss me with that. But I mean, it was always a good time and things like that. But it's those connections and everything with the students and everything that I do miss about education. But all the other stuff, don't miss it.
I can imagine. Kenneth Williams, because I've heard those stories from friends and family that are in that position. I've never been there. Kenneth Williams, two related comments. They're going to have to move the pocket or have King roll out to throw. I think he's a little short to sit in the pocket and throw over the O-line accurately. Just my take from the game. And I've seen De'Ara King prior to this game as a Houston Cougar probably play 5 or 6 times, maybe not every play, the game from start to finish, but have seen him plenty in highlights, and then also playing for Houston in their bigger games. And that always struck me, and it struck me again on Thursday night. I was thinking, this dude's pretty short. But we all have our strengths and weaknesses at the position, but he's made it work very well. So Kenneth, related to that comment, think this offense would fit N'Kosi Perry better. He can get the ball out quick.
I am the president of the N'Kosi Perry fan club and have been for many years now. De'Ara King is a better player than N'Kosi Perry. He just is. So, I mean, I think that Perry offers things that are positive in terms of the offense, in terms of things that he can do. We saw he kept the ball on a zone read and he ran for like 8 yards. We've already seen the cannon that he calls a right arm, and pushing the ball vertically down the field, and the, accuracy in doing that. Is it inconsistent? Yes. But, he has dropped dimes, in a spread. I mean, finally, that game against Florida State, in 2018, Miami was down by a bunch, said, look, we got to open it up and we got to chuck that ball, dog. And he did it, so are there things to like? Yes. If you go back and look at his high school film and relate that to the scheme that Miami is running now, and that gives you optimism for the future of what N'Kosi Perry could do if he's the quarterback of this team in the future. Absolutely. And it's going to be there's going to be a battle because, nobody's going to lay down. Tate Martell still wants to play. Peyton Matoka is still here. Tyler Van Dyke is still here. If you add a quarterback in this class, a recruiting class or a transfer, they're going to want to play. So nothing is given. It will have to be earned. And that's why I say that. But are there things that N'Kosi Perry does and can do that lead you to believe that he can be successful, very successful in this offense, or in what we think this offense will eventually end up being and looking like? Absolutely. All of that being said, D'Eriq King is a better player.
I think the quarterback is one of the easier positions to evaluate for a fan just watching the game. It's difficult to evaluate line play and specifically a defensive tackle or a guard, or go all over the place, and especially because of the camera angles focusing on a quarterback and the offensive line when they drop back to pass. You're not going to see whether the wide receivers are getting separation downfield. There's a lot of stuff that you don't see, but you can clearly see the quarterback wind up, throw the ball downfield, or you can see if he's elusive in the run game. And then I just think that too many of us watch the games the next day, meaning on Sunday, and watch Drew Brees and Tom Brady carve up a defense and just see this pinpoint accuracy from, I'm just pointing out two guys, but we could go to 10 or 12 in the NFL and even beyond that, and then make comparisons about throwing the ball downfield and the accuracy and the timing and the anticipation, and it's not a fair comparison to make. All right. Anything out of Zach McCloud that disappointed you on game one?
It was kind of just in that early part of the game when the linebackers in general were not necessarily great in some of those run actions that UAB was doing, and especially because if you were watching that game, they were moving people all over the place. It's jet action, it's that orbit action which comes in like a jet and then goes around behind the quarterback and running back. They're counter tray, they're throwback, they're a throwback to the tight end over here, they're throwing throwback screens to the running backs, they're doing all kinds of different things. And I mean, there were some missed tackles and probably some missed some run fits and things like that. So it wasn't perfect, but I do think that, I mean, you can single out Zach McCloud if you want to, but I think that everybody really needs to do better, because it's kind of. Yeah, I mean, there's room for growth, 100%.
We could wrap up with this one because it's toward the future, and of course, a huge game against Louisville. We're talking about a team that is given a whole lot of hype that I think is earned based on the rapid progression last year, but at the same time, winning the next 5 games on your schedule, meaning going from a 2-win team to a 7-win team, as Scott Satterfield accomplished last year, that is a huge, remarkable accomplishment. But the next couple games that you need to win to go from 7 to 9, those are much more difficult games. You in making that 2 to 7 leap, you're beating the teams that you should have been beating anyway, and then you're knocking off a lot of those teams that you're on the same tier with. But to go from like 7 to 9 or 10, that's another enormous leap. So in regards to Louisville, there was a comment, just kind of the preview look, but also tacking on the specific of Amari Carter should be playing linebacker.
Okay. The Louisville game is now the primetime game next Saturday evening. Because Virginia Tech got postponed. That's what I was blogging when we first connected. I just saw that get released at 11 a.m. By the ACC. So that's up on the website. I already wrote about it. So 7:30 p.m. on ABC, kickoff at 8 o'clock, because they do that, thing, half an hour or whatever. There's a good chance this could be the game day game next week. Honestly, Louisville wins. And this is 2 top 25 teams, especially with, lessened amount of teams that are playing and things like that. This could be the game day game, honestly and truly. So there's that. And that's a team that, turned things around in a big way, beat the teams that they should have been beating, and then a bunch of peer level teams last year. The margins get thin as you go towards the extremes, obviously. So, take that next step. Yeah. But it's going to be an interesting game because, they always have schemed up offense. When Petrino was there, when Brom was there. Brom wasn't there. There was somebody else who was there. Satterfield, Petrino twice, and things like that. Charlie Strong, because they hung 36 on us in a bowl game. So they always will scheme up some offense. Satterfield schemed up some really good offenses at Appalachian State. Yes, we blew them out, but again, that was a talent, team with less talent than he has at his disposal over here at Louisville. And we saw even last year, they're going to scheme some guys open, or they can scheme some guys just running fast across the field and then, turn it up the sideline and you cue up the band like they did with Tutu Atwell. So, yeah, Miami's going to need to score points, and they're going to need to score plenty of them. And it's going to be a challenge for Miami on defense to then stop Louisville, because Louisville has found ways to be dynamic, and their quarterback, Mikael Cunningham, is also a guy who can throw it and run it like Derek King can. So we've seen that mobile quarterbacks have been the kryptonite towards Manny Diaz defenses in the past. So that is something that really needs to be a focus. And again, this is where I would like to see Sam Brooks and Avery Huff at that second level, because if you're going to spy with somebody, I would like it to be some of the more athletic guys at that second level, as opposed to a Bradley Jennings or even a Zach McLeod, who has some athleticism. But maybe you put, if you want to leave Jennings in the middle, I would maybe slide McLeod over there and then put Huff or Brooks, just because we're more athletic there at that slot or at that position level. In terms of Amari Carter playing linebacker, like full-time linebacker, maybe that's where his body goes. Maybe he's like a Thomas Davis from Georgia, who played safety in college, but then ended up moving down to weak side linebacker and had a nice long NFL career. Maybe that's where he goes with it. But right now, between safety and striker, just rotating, I think that's a good spot for him. I don't think that, because we're not really running 3 linebackers full time. It's really, Miami's really running a 4-2-5. And that fifth defensive back is the striker. And you can call that, and you can swap that with a linebacker, safety, striker, whoever you want to put there. You know what I mean? Is that other player at the second level of the defense. But Amari Carter is a senior. He has lots of game action. He's one of the better players at the safety position. Is he, Ed Reed, Sean Taylor back there, just covering everything in the middle of the field from, the 20 to the end zone, or 80 yards and, 55 or 53 and a half yards wide? No, he's not. But he has value, and he can play there, and also, walk down into the box is just a big, strong safety. We've had plenty of those at Miami and just elsewhere in the world of football, college, high school and pro. But yeah, full-time linebacker, I don't see that for Amari Carter right now, but maybe eventually his body develops there.
If you're unfamiliar with Louisville, again, from 2-10 to 7-5 with a bowl win to go 8-5 last year. Javian Hawkins maybe a bit undersized if you're just looking at him, but man, ran for almost 1,600 yards last year. Cam mentions Cunningham at quarterback, and despite all that was put on him offensively, still only turned the ball over through the pass game 5 times, 5 picks, 28 total touchdowns. So he got the job done. They were explosive on offense. Tutu Atwell had the most yardage per reception and yardage per game at wide receiver last year. They lose one of the very best at left tackle, a top 10 NFL pick in Mekhi Becton. Yeah. And I understand from what I've read, not just his loss, but they're pretty thin along the offensive front. The defense was a disaster last year. They do bring back their linebackers, and C.J. Avery, the most productive, with about 100 tackles last year, but they've got to improve extensively on that side of the ball. So it could be fun. All right, Cam, we appreciate you as always. And everybody, lock it into State of the U, because we get a big, huge ACC opener at Louisville. And so get all your information there. Be flexible here. Hang with me. Subscribe to both channels, and we will continue to keep you posted on the situation. So, Cam, any parting shots?
No, we're just fully into season mode over at State of the U. So added a couple of other new contributors, and we have just a lot of great content. I'm always looking at editorial. I'm looking at what's up on the website, and I could not be more proud of the guys that we have, or guys and gals, and the content that they create. So I think it's second to none in the world of Miami Hurricanes commentary. So please come on over to stateoftheu.com. Also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, we're at The State of the U. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports. Here, there, and everywhere, you can follow all of our stuff. And we hope that you come and fan with us, and we look forward to seeing you on the site soon.
See y'all soon. Thank you so much for joining.